How are you?
Good. Hi, I'm Corinne. So nice to see you and everyone here. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. And you should have the ability to share your screen and we can get started.
Fantastic. I'll go ahead and do that. And just so everyone knows, I'm going to preserve some bandwidth and just turn off my video while I screen share. If you do have questions that are Zearn specific that we can help answer, we would love if you could put them into the Q&A. I'm not sure if that is a function you see.
Corinne, actually, in this one, it's going to be a chat.
Oh, great. Okay. Hi, Ashley. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat. We'd be happy to respond. And then we'll also leave time for questions at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my video and share my screen. And just want to make sure that it comes through once I do that. Please speak up if it's not sharing, but otherwise we'll go ahead and get started here. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and jump into the slideshow. Okay, wonderful. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to share Zearn Math with you. We wanted to share a little bit of background on who we are to get started. Zearn is a nonprofit, and we created Zearn Math, a comprehensive math program that supports a range of instructional needs. Zearn Math for Texas is designed to sit alongside Eureka Math Teaks Edition as a digital companion that incorporates adaptive technology to create a more personalized, feedback-rich, and flexible approach to instruction. Zearn Math's digital resources follow the same instructional progression and objectives for every module in Eureka Math Teaks Edition. So for example, Zearn's digital resources for Grade 3 Mission 1 are aligned to the same math instruction as Grade 3 Module 1 in Eureka Math Teaks Edition. The goal of Zearn's resources is to create a more flexible and accessible and personalized experience for students while providing greater flexibility and support to teachers to address students' unfinished learnings. We do this by offering a full set of materials, including personalized daily digital lessons for students and real-time data and insights for teachers and administrators. Our digital lessons are designed to be flexible to support a range of instructional models. One model is using digital lessons during the school day as a companion to teachers' instruction with Eureka Math Teaks Edition, so students experience the embedded, supportive pathways to core instruction every day. This might be during core math time or during extra time outside of the math block. In this model, students complete either grade level lessons or bookmarked foundational lessons connected to their core math instruction with Eureka Math Teaks Edition to support unfinished learnings. Because of the web-based independent nature of Zearn's digital lessons, they're an excellent resource to use in a hybrid or fully remote learning model during asynchronous instruction or as part of a rotational model. In addition to using the digital lessons as part of the school day, many districts are also using Zearn's digital lessons to drive summer math programming, as well as after school, extended day, and tutoring programs. In all of these models, the digital lessons are designed to complement and enhance what students are learning with their teacher, creating a coherent math experience, which is critical to acceleration. So let's dig into how our digital lessons support students and teachers. Our digital lessons incorporate increasing levels of foundational support as students show they need it. As students work through digital lessons, they continue to learn, review, and practice the same content and strategies they work on with their teacher. But instead of a digitized worksheet or video, in Zearn, students engage with adaptive interactive activities. Our digital lessons incorporate increasing levels of foundational support as students show they need it. First, all students experience the supportive pathways to grade level content using concrete and pictorial representations. As students may struggle in grade level work, digital lessons launch scaffolded support from previous grade levels. This is automatically embedded into grade level lessons. If students continue to struggle or have clear unfinished learnings from prior years, teachers receive tailored recommendations on foundational lessons from earlier grades that can be bookmarked for students to work on for additional acceleration. This may be a few targeted lessons or entire units, depending on the breadth and depth of the student's gaps. Essentially, Zearn is based on a layered approach that incorporates increasing foundational support as students show they need it. But what makes us really different is that we design Zearn Math to be a coherent experience where all levels of acceleration and support are connected and directly aligned to Eureka Mathematics Edition. And this has been the focus of our work since we created our first digital lesson, but the need to support teachers and students with both moving forward and catching up certainly feels more pressing today than ever before. So let's talk a little bit about digital lesson structure. We're going to dive into a digital lesson example next. So to frame what we'll see, these are the components of a digital math lesson. Sorry, a Zearn Math digital lesson. The first component is fluency. Fluency activities are designed to reinforce critical number sense skills, build automaticity, or act as an on-ramp to upcoming content. Every grade 1 through 5 digital lesson has 2 opening fluency activities, one that's adaptive and one that's on grade level lesson aligned. And our kindergarten offering includes 170 digital activities focused on building number sense. The second part of digital lessons is guided practice. This is essentially a digital version of the daily lesson. Here, students engage with an on-camera teacher and interactive checkpoints that include digital manipulatives and personalized acceleration pathways. The last component is independent practice, or a digital exit ticket, where students show understanding of the lesson. If a student struggles, they receive additional acceleration pathways within the Tower of Power. So we're going to take a look at grade 3, mission 1, lesson 6. And as a side note, we call units of study missions on Zearn, and a mission is aligned to a Eureka Mathematics Edition module. So this lesson we'll see today is from the first mission or module of grade 3. And the lesson we'll see, lesson 6, focuses on supporting students to use an array model to solve division problems. I'm going to actually jump into the heart of the lesson now. The guided practice. This is where students are engaging with instruction that feels really similar to the lesson that they'd have with their teacher from Eureka Mathematics Edition. And prior to this activity, students would have worked through 2 digital fluency warm-ups, but I skipped those for the sake of time. Let's jump right in and take a look.
Hey there, mathematician. Let's get started with the word problem. Read this problem and imagine what's happening.
This activity is called a math chat, and it's designed to resemble a small group setting where students learn with this on-camera teacher. As students engage with guided practice, they complete checkpoints like this one, which give them lots of opportunities to build and construct their math in different ways and receive feedback and support if they need it. So here in this first checkpoint, I'm breaking down the problem, identifying the known and unknown information. So here I know the total number of fish, and I know the number of fish in each tank, but I don't know the number of tanks. And then I have the chance to process that with the numbers from the problem as well. So I know there's 20 total fish, and there's 5 fish in each tank. You'll notice throughout the digital lesson that we have these audio prompt buttons that students can click on to have the text read to them as they're working independently.
Kayla?
We know there are 20 total fish, and 5 fish can fit in each tank. We're trying to find out how many tanks they'll need for all 20 fish.
You got it. Here is one tank. Let's start by putting 5 fish in this tank. Keep going. Put 5 fish in each tank until all fish are in a tank.
So during the digital lessons, students visualize problems with animations like these fish and construct their own visual models using interactive digital manipulatives. So for this problem, as a student, I would build another tank, add 5 fish to it, build another tank and add 5 fish to it until all fish are in a tank. And by doing this, I have the opportunity to explore this new concept with more concrete work so that I can deeply understand this in an intuitive way.
I'll put 5 fish in each tank like this. Let's write a multiplication equation that represents our picture. I'll write a question mark for our unknown, the number of groups. What is the size of each group? What is the total? Go ahead. Fill in the multiplication equation.
So in this third checkpoint, students move to representing the known parts of the problem into a multiplication equation, just as they would have done in the aligned teacher lesson from Eureka Math Teaks Edition. So here, I know there are 5 fish in each tank and 20 total fish.
The number of groups is our unknown. There are 5 fish in each tank, or group, and 20 total fish. Now, write a division sentence to match this picture. Use your multiplication equation to help.
So at this next checkpoint, students move to writing a division equation to match the picture, but I want to pause here for a moment and point out a few things. So first, as you may have started to notice, all of these blue circles here represent where students stop and engage with the activity. Our lessons stop often to check for understanding, just like teachers do in their live instruction. In each of these checkpoints, students are asked to represent their math in different ways, all connected to how they're representing their math during their teacher-led lesson. Students are required to engage in every single interactive task, and they get supportive feedback if they need it in order to progress. Let's move on to another problem to see a different way that students engage with the lesson. So in addition to these digital representations we started to see, the lesson will also prompt students to transfer their learning to student notes. So let's take a look at one of those checkpoints. As a quick side note, I'm going to jump us ahead here, and I'm able to do that because I'm showing this to you from a teacher account. But students cannot bypass checkpoints when they're working independently in their student accounts.
Let's solve this next problem in your notes. Today, we're working on Mission 1, Lesson 6. Ethan puts away 15 books for literacy class. There are 3 shelves, and he puts the same number of books on each shelf. Draw an array that represents this problem. Use a circle to represent each book.
So this time, students are prompted to solve the problem in their notes. So this is what the prompt looks like on the screen. And then this is what it looks like on paper. So you'll notice it's virtually identical to make it really easy for students to transfer between the two formats. And the purpose of the paper component is to give students a chance to draw their math and represent their thinking in a variety of ways, while also supporting transfer and retention. So after students work through this problem in their notes, for example, here, they're prompted to draw an array. Other times it's much more open-ended, where students are prompted to draw a model, however they're thinking. Students will then keep working through the digital activity, where they're prompted to check and revise their work after seeing the solution modeled. You'll notice this paper component, just like the rest of our materials, is really well organized and designed to engage students in representing their math on paper. So let's take a look at one more problem. This one is where students start to work with arrays, which again is really similar to what students would do in this same lesson in Eureka Math Teaks Edition. So I'll press play and then jump us ahead one last time.
There are 15 total decorated her notebook with stickers. She arranged 21 stickers into rows of 3. Create an array to represent the problem. Remember, there are 3 stickers in each row.
So here, students are working again with a digital manipulative to visualize the problem, this time more pictorially, as we're working with an array to represent rows of stickers. You'll notice here that I'm getting a little less scaffolding than we did in that first problem. So let's say that I make a mistake and I struggle. I make 3 rows of 3 instead of all the rows of 3 I need to make. When I enter that answer that's incorrect, I get the feedback that I'm incorrect and always a chance to try again. And as I continue working, let's say I continue to struggle. Now I'm going to receive scaffolded support to help break down this problem. So first, it helps me think about what one row of 3 stickers would look like. And then I have the chance to build this array again, but this time with a much more targeted set of dots than I did originally. So I have just as many as I need to create all 7 rows of 3 stickers. So I'll fill in all of those stickers now. I have one more chance to process here that I should use all 21 stickers to build my array. Now keep in mind that I received those additional scaffolded supporting questions and because they were specific to my struggle. Another student who completed that initial array successfully would not have received the support that we just saw, and instead would have jumped right back into the digital lesson, moved right along to seeing the solution modeled, and then relating their model to multiplication and division equations.
Kayla arranged 21 stickers into rows of 3 like this. Complete the division equation and the multiplication equation to represent this array.
So like I mentioned, if a child had initially successfully completed that array, they would have jumped right back into the video here. But I received those additional scaffolded questions specific to my struggle to support me right when I needed it. One last unique aspect of the digital lessons I want to highlight. We focus heavily on how the learning experience on Zearn is designed to support not just some students, but all students. And for us, an important part of that is students feeling like they belong. So in designing our instructional materials, we focused on representing the racial and ethnic diversity found in classrooms across the country. And our digital lessons give us the unique opportunity to give all students the chance to see someone similar to themselves doing math and persevering through challenge. You'll also notice that throughout Zearn's instructional content, names and problems and contexts are all thoughtfully selected so that no one group is over or underrepresented within the context of a particular problem. Okay, so now let's imagine we finished this whole guided practice. We went all the way to the end here, and we'll jump to the last part of the digital lesson, the final activity, which is called the Tower of Power. You could think about this as a digital exit ticket. So during this application work, students demonstrate their understanding of the lesson and receive precise feedback and acceleration if they struggle. So in the Tower of Power, students answer questions aligned to the guided practice. And these first few questions are actually from the whole topic, which is exactly like the topic that students would engage in with their teacher from Eureka Math Teaks Edition. So I'll get those first couple of questions correct. And now that I've answered those first couple of questions correctly, I'm moving on to the next stage of the tower. So towers are structured in stages. This tower you can see has 4 stages from these little segments here on the right. And each stage gets a little more challenging with a little less scaffolding as students continue on. My little tracker is filling up, showing that I finished the first stage, and now I'm moving into the second stage. Now that we're in the second stage, you can see that I get a really familiar problem, one just like the problem we saw in guided practice, where I'm putting goldfish into bowls. But let's say I struggle. I'm either moving quickly or I misunderstand. When I enter this incorrect answer, you can see I get really precise feedback. So I can focus in on my mistake and I always have a chance to try again. But let's say I still struggle. When I continue to enter the wrong answer the second time, I immediately go into what's called a boost. Boosts are unique acceleration paths that are written to break down questions and scaffold understanding for students right when they struggle. There's a unique boost in every question in the Tower of Power. In this boost, I'm invited to break down the question, first identifying the information I know from the problem. Here, how many goldfish are in each bowl? And then I'm invited to rebuild my fish bowls, but this time with a supportive example, just like I had in my guided practice. So I'll go ahead and fill in these bowls. And once I complete the boost, I have the opportunity to go back into the tower and try again on my own. And when I re-enter the tower, you'll notice that I get a new question here with different numbers. So we generate new numbers and questions based on the lesson so that students can show true understanding as they work through the Tower of Power and not just memorize that boost. So if I continue to work through this Tower of Power, I would use my fish tanks to create equal groups and relate those to multiplication and division equations, as well as write that in a complete sentence. And in the third and fourth stage, I'd move to using an array just as we saw in the guided practice video, and also what students would be doing with their teachers in the Eureka Math Teaks Edition lesson. So after I successfully complete all the stages of a Tower of Power, that's when students earn their badge, and they also unlock the next lesson and can move on to the next activity. But let's pause here. Now that we've seen quite a bit of the student digital lesson experience, I want to shift gears and start talking about what this means in terms of data. So because of the robust digital resources that sit alongside Eureka Math Teaks Edition, in Zearn, teachers have access to real-time actionable data that summarizes exactly how students are doing on each lesson and where students may continue to struggle. There's 3 levels of reports in Zearn. There's class level reports, individual student reports, and also school level admin reports. For sake of time, I'm going to do a quick overview of some of the class reports, and then also give a quick preview of other reports. So teachers have access to 4 class level reports that look at student lesson completion and struggle. The one I'm showing first is called the progress report, and this shows teachers exactly where students are working and what portions of each of the missions or modules students have completed digitally. So this fills in as students progress, and teachers can click into that for more detail to see exactly what students have done in each one of those missions or modules. The next report is the PACE report. And the PACE report is designed to help keep students on track to completing their weekly digital lessons. So the top chart here provides a summary of how the class is progressing toward the lesson completion goal for the current week in real time, as well as the last 3 most recent weeks. And then as you scroll down, teachers can see really detailed student information by week. So for every child in their classroom, they can see the number of lessons they've completed digitally, and they can click into any one of those numbers to see exactly which lessons they completed, when they did so, and how much time they spent working on their digital lessons. They can also see the last time the child logged in here in the PACE report. So this is really important to check throughout the week, so there's no surprise about who's ahead or who's behind as they work digitally. Finally, teachers can see detailed information about students' struggle in the Tower Alerts report, which is where they receive real-time alerts every time a student struggles in their digital exit ticket, that Tower of Power. So we're taking a look at the Tower Alert report now, and this is what a Tower Alert looks like. And again, they populate in real time. The information on these alerts is captured by date and time, by student, and by lesson. So teachers can quickly filter and focus on students who might be stuck or identify groups of students who are struggling with similar content. Teachers can use this information on student struggle to assign additional foundational lessons from prior grades. And we provide specific recommendations on critical foundational lessons, and teachers can simply bookmark those for students to work on. In addition to the class reports that we started to see there, there's one more class report called the Sprint Alert report that helps teachers identify students who are struggling with lesson-aligned fluency. Teachers also have access to student level reports, which are designed to support teachers with providing a more in-depth look at a given student and their individual areas of struggle. Student reports can be used from everything from identifying additional unfinished learnings, supporting individualized education plans, or communicating student progress with parents and caregivers. Also, to support admin and coaches, the data from class and student level reports is summarized at the school level, so all educators have clear and actionable data on how students are progressing toward lesson completion goals and where classrooms may be struggling and need some more support. So now that we've taken a look at the student digital lesson experience, we've talked through the data that's available within these real-time reports, I also want to take a look at our summer intensive series. So leveraging our vast data set of over 6 billion problems completed in our digital lessons, we created a 12-week program for our rising 1st through 8th graders that focuses on the essential math content needed to start and set a strong foundation for the 21-22 school year. Our series also includes instructional resources that can be used by teachers and tutors when working with students in a whole class or small group format. And just like we've mentioned, all of this is directly aligned to the Eureka Math Teaks edition. Most importantly, our summer intensive series materials, just like all of Zearn, can be used really flexibly. They can be used in a class setting, whether in person or virtual, with face-to-face live instruction, and they can also be used in an asynchronous model with students and families that will be home and not in a traditional summer school. As an example, looking at grade 1, so grade 1 content for rising second graders, some districts we've been working with are choosing just one mission from the prioritized content listed for their 4-week summer school. So within our summer intensive series, there's 12 weeks worth of content, but we know lots of summer school programs aren't that long. And so like I mentioned, many districts are choosing one mission from those that are listed as the priority missions to focus on for their summer learning program. For that prioritized mission, or that one mission that they choose, the digital lessons from that mission are used to drive instruction. So students are engaging in the digital lessons from that mission every day. And the application problems from that mission can be used as a guide for educators that are working with students in the summer. For students who may be completing digital lessons at home, we have many resources for parents and caregivers. I'm showing you an example of our parent and caregiver support webpage, where there's many resources that are completely accessible for free to families. There's also materials in Spanish, including some recorded video trainings, lots of really exciting and fun printable resources that they can use, and then encouragement to follow us on Instagram and Twitter for lots more that's being shared with us all the time. And then as I'm showing now, some FAQs to support them. So I'll pause there. We've covered a lot of content. I want to make sure that we also have a chance to answer questions. I'm not able to see the chat, so I wanted to just check in and see if anyone has inputted in the chat. And if there's any questions we can address live.
Great. I will go ahead and jump in on some of the questions coming in. Again, if you do have any questions, please go ahead and put that in the chat just so that we can try to combine questions or provide a little more context based on the questions that do come in. So the first question came in asking how is the time on task measured? Is it active use or just times that they are logged on? It's a bit of a combination. So once a student logs in, their time, their clock gets started. They have to be active within a certain amount of time though. So they have to continue engaging. And as you saw, as Corinne walked through that activity, there are lots of moments where students are engaging. So it's rare that a student is sitting back and just watching for a long period of time. We are asking students to stay very engaged and interact with the activities on a regular basis. So if students do stop interacting with the activities, they will be timed out. But the time on task is essentially based on when they log in, and then assuming they continue to interact with the activities on a regular basis based on the activities they're working in. It's based on how long they continue working until they get either logged out or they log out themselves. And if you have more questions or need more clarification on that, please feel free to throw it in the chat. Are there okay, another question coming in? There's a question I might also ask the state to chime in on just to make sure that we're answering this correctly. So we are allowing folks to sign up for accounts on Zearn directly. We are creating a Texas-specific login page so that you are all logging in through the Texas-specific website. That is to come out shortly. So that is a place where you could sign up directly on Zearn.
I'll jump in here.
Oh, great.
Ashley, this is Dina from TEA. Great question, Beth. And the context for that question is for most of our Texas home learning products, we have a way, there's a particular way for our ESC staff to be able to have an account where they can see some of the districts that they support. And so I think that's a question that we'll have to explore, what the possibilities with Zearn would look like for that. But I'm really glad you brought that up, Beth, and I'm going to bring that back because I personally don't know the functionality of that. And that's something that we might have to work through, but we'll bring that back and see if we can get an answer on that.
And just on our side, from the structure perspective, the districts are set up depending on how the district signs up for Zearn. There are individual accounts that individual users can sign up for, but we do work with districts or networks that have kind of multiple layers of administrators or staff who are working within the network or the district, and they have various levels of access. Again, it will depend a little bit on exactly what the structure is, and we could work with kind of each group to figure out what that looks like. But there are ways to have access. Again, we would just need to work with kind of individuals to figure out how that looks for a specific district. I see a second question come in back on the timing, how long it is before they're logged out from an inactivity. It was 30 minutes during remote learning because we found that students were getting up and getting disrupted and not realizing they were being logged out. So we decreased that, but typically they have to engage 30 to 60 minutes. And again, we just keep an eye on how often students are getting logged out and kind of adjust that number based on where we're seeing students kind of stop activity. So it's a little bit data driven. Again, it was 30 minutes. I think it's up to 60 minutes now. So students have to engage with the activity within 60 minutes for them not to get logged out. And we do that mainly because we want that time to be as accurate as possible. And for the vast majority of students, they don't go 60 minutes without activity. That's usually when we see that a student has gotten up and either started another activity on a different program or is logged off the computer or stopped using the computer altogether. A question on cost after THL. Zearn does have a program cost. That is probably something that works best to kind of connect with at a district by district basis. We do create school-based licenses, and that is the kind of cost structure behind Zearn. So for every school, they would have a license on Zearn, and that includes full access to our digital platform. I think there is maybe a question that comes back to the state just around what the partnership would look like at the state level. And I am not sure that that has been ironed out yet. So I can't say for sure exactly what that would look like. But again, just talking about Zearn more specifically and in general, not considering partnership with THL, that would be a school-based licenses, and the school-based license is $2,500 per school with an unlimited number of staff and students within that school.
But just to reemphasize, the individual accounts are free. So access
Correct.
for individuals is always free from Zearn.
So an individual teacher or administrator could sign up for an account on Zearn and access all of the content. Those are free. So any individual can do that. For a school or district to sign up as a group of teachers with that administrative level access, that's where you would have a school-based license. Any additional questions? Great. I think that covers all of the information on our end. We are more than happy to stay on for more time to see if additional questions pop up. Dana or Kendrick, I don't know if both of you are still on. Are there any other things on your end that would be helpful for us to cover at this point? Or any other questions from the group?
It looks like we've gotten all of the questions answered that have come in, so thank y'all for that. If there's anything else that you think of, like they said, we can stay on for a little bit longer to answer those, but thank y'all so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all for your time and for joining us today.